I wonder when the American people are going to wake up that there is nothing free. Nothing in life is free. Nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, YouTubers. Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't make this up. And I mean that. You can't make this up. The way I see what I'm about to share with you is pretty much the government laughing at our faces. I don't know, about 2 years ago or so, and I'm not here to say I told you so, okay? I'm not here to say I told you so or any of that stuff. I'm just telling you a story that's based on truth. A year and a half, 2 years ago, before the stimulus checks came out, I came out here saying, we do not need a stimulus check. That money that is being printed out of thin air has to go somewhere. Where is it going to go? I would guess that most of it is going to go to corporations and to the elite. And they will be able to spend those monies first before the average person can. Now, why does that matter? If you have a large corporation, or if you're already worth $1 billion and you get another $1 billion, is that going to improve your standard of living? No, it's not. What are you going to do with that money? There's really only one place to put the money. Well, I mean, you can put it in a savings account and have it draw 0 interest pretty much. Or you can put it into equities, i.e. the stock market. And by putting it into the stock market, it's going to increase the cost of the stock market itself. Meaning that the stock market is going to continue to go up and up and up. I believe that we are in a melt-up phase, and I believe that the stock market is going to continue to go up. It's going to continue to go up. Because most of these trillions that are going to be printed, I do not believe will be going to the average man on the street, i.e. you and me. Sure, the monies that the average person gets, more than likely they're going to spend it into the economy, which will kick up the velocity of money just a bit. But I think that most of it will go into the stock market. And that's why I think that the stock market has a very good possibility of continuing to rise throughout this year. And who knows, maybe next year as well. Because whatever it is that you end up getting, you're going to pay back tenfold. Literally, you're going to be paying back tenfold. And not only that, but your children and your children's children will still be paying off those stimulus checks that we got from the government. And I remember someone leaving a comment saying, well, AP, some people need that stimulus check. And my reply was, and I think I replied during a live stream, I said, it's not that people need it. It's that people have to understand why they need it. The government went ahead and put forth solutions to a problem that, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to believe that they did not know at the time that their solutions to whatever problem it was that they were trying to put the fire out would later create bigger problems. They have to had known that. Because as I've stated before, these people that work in government, they are very highly educated. They are highly educated. No matter what their ideology is, they are highly educated. They should have known exactly what was going to happen if they put trillions and trillions of dollars out into the economy. And you know what would happen, or what did happen? Exactly what we are experiencing today. Gasoline prices at twice as much as what they were a year and a half ago. Here it says, in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, listen to this, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen admitted that the chain of stimulus plans implemented by the U.S. administration helped create the problem of inflation. Now they are admitting that it was all of these stimulus payments, in part, I would say, that helped to create the inflation that we are now experiencing. Going back to the story about the person that left the comment that said, well, some people need this money. And I'm saying they should not be concentrating on why they need the money or that they need the money, but why. What circumstances have put them in a place where they need that money? And those circumstances were brought forth to the American people by the American government. They instituted policies and mandates that made people stay home and not be able to go to work to feed their families and then have to rely on government for a handout, which is not a handout because you end up having to pay that back just like we are paying it back today, right now. So if you don't have enough money at the end of the month to fill your tank so that you can go to work for that last 3 days of the week before you get your paycheck, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, because gasoline is now more than twice what it was before the stimulus came out. This is why, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not here to say I told you so, but what I'm here to say is this: learn from what has happened and is happening. People have such a short attention span that they cannot look back a year to see that what was done upon the American people is directly affecting their standard of living today. Inflation is a matter of demand and supply, she says. And the spending that was undertaken in the American Rescue Plan did feed demand. The more money that is in a system, the more demand that there will be for the goods that are available, ladies and gentlemen. It's just basic economics. Do they even teach this in high school anymore? Supply and demand. And then it says here that Yellen admitted what I just read. Of course, Yellen went on to say that the spending was appropriate due to the collapse of the economy. Why did the economy collapse? All right, those are the questions you want to ask yourself when you read something like this. Why did the economy collapse? And she says, due to the collapse of the economy as governments were trying to prevent a recession. Well, they prevented a recession, ladies and gentlemen. They did do that. But did people think that maybe this could lead to a depression, which is what it's going to lead to? Many people do not want to believe that we are going to go into a depression, a great depression, or a greater depression. And we are. Not because I wanted to, but because mathematics does not lie, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your ideology is. I don't care what your ethnicity, religion, whatever is. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4, at least in this dimension that we live in. And the author of this article goes on to say, this reminds us of a few of the problems of disproportionate government intervention and the negative impact on the middle class. Inflation only affects those that earn a wage. That is the only people that inflation affects. If you work for a living, inflation affects you, ladies and gentlemen. However, the problem is larger and deeper. Central banks and governments have exhausted all demand-side policies at the expense of the middle class by eroding real wages and deposit savings. How do they erode real wages? We'll cover both of those. Real wages and deposit savings. They eroded real wages by inflating the monetary supply, making your labor worth less. All right, ladies and gentlemen, because now, even though, let's say you earned $400 a week a year ago, and those $400 got you X, Y, and Z. But let's say that this year you earn $500, but that $500, even though you're earning more nominally, only get you X and Y. Where's Z? Well, Z has been redistributed to a whole bunch of other people after it's been taken from you through the tax of inflation. And then let's go ahead and talk about deposit savings. How does the government erode deposit savings? Interest rates. Think about it. When inflation right now as it stands, I don't think we have our numbers for April yet, but for March was at 8.5%. All right, the CPI, which is also called the CPI, because inflation right now, as calculated back in the 1980s and 90s, should be close to 20%. But I digress. All right, inflation, as calculated by the government, was 8.5% last month. What does that mean? That means that if you put money in the bank, you cannot earn enough interest to even cover inflation. So that is how they mess up your savings. That is how they tell people, no, you don't need to save your money. Go ahead and put your money in that big casino called the stock market, because there you may be able to invest your money and maybe make enough to cover just the basic inflation. So now no longer can people hope to save up $1 million during their lifetime, put it away, and be able to live off the interest for the rest of their days. Now they have to put their money, their savings, their life savings, riskier assets in order to be able to try to keep up with inflation. But the problem is that being that the stock market is a big casino, does the casino ever lose, ladies and gentlemen? No, it is you that loses. When you enter into a casino, there is a better chance that you come out of there broke than with winnings in your pockets. Even worse, government created larger inflationary spiral by maintaining all of the health crisis relief packages even after the reopening, well beyond the recovery. And we all saw this happen by all of the money that was being pumped out for unemployment, where people were making more off of unemployment than what they were making off of their old jobs, so they decided to just stay home. They expected a spectacular aggregate demand increase, and they got it. Now the result is higher inflation and lower economic growth. But government size and deficit spending remain. Why? Because government is there for government. Everything that government spends, ladies and gentlemen, is paid by you. Yes, it's paid by you. Government makes absolutely nothing. The only thing that government really makes is they produce sorrow. That is it. I always challenge people to let me know, what good does government do? What do they produce that adds value to humanity? There is no free money, even for the recipients of benefits in constantly depreciated currency. Inflation is the tax on the poor. I've been saying this for I don't know how long. I'm excited about this, ladies and gentlemen, because they're laughing at our face. Janet Yellen going out there and saying that oh yeah, maybe we spent too much money and that's why now you're paying twice as much for almost everything. That really ticks me off. Because like I said, they've known about this all along. I wonder when the American people are going to wake up that there is nothing free. Nothing in life is free. Nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing in life is free. Anything that you get is energy, and that energy had to come from somewhere. Be it the energy that is transferred from you, the working man or the working woman, onto someone else because they received fiat currency that was created out of thin air at no physical cost to them. You paid for that with your labor. Now that purchasing power in your fiat currency is less. Nothing is for free. And those of you that are getting that free fiat currency that you think is free, it's not free. It is depriving you of your free will. It is depriving you of your freedom. Because should you stop doing what the government tells you to do for that free ticket, you will no longer get it. So how free are you really? And he continues to say, both consequences lead to inequality and a constant deterioration of the purchasing power of the currency, making salaries in real terms lower. It's just like I said, the people that get hurt are the working class. Right? And here he also covered that first, with inflation, assets go up first, and then the price of everyday consumer items go up first. What he means by that is something that I've been talking about as well for a while, that inflation first shows its ugly head in the price of houses, the price of cars, the stock market, right? The stock market going up, all those kinds of things, assets. And then after it's done with that, which it looks like it's getting done with that, if you've taken a look at the stock market lately, I actually haven't looked at it today, so I have no idea where it is, but I'm sure it hasn't bounced up the 5,000 points that it's lost in the last several months, right? Then after it's done with the asset inflation, then it starts going into everything else, which is all of your daily consumer items, the things that you need to live on an everyday basis to maintain a decent standard of living. Central plan money creation is never neutral. It disproportionately benefits the first recipients of money, government and those with assets and debt, and negatively impacts those with a monetary salary and some savings and cash deposits, which dissolves over time. So if you leave your money in the bank, over time, that money is going to be worth less and less and less and less. It's like putting an ice cube in the oven. And he goes on to say, no socialist Excel spreadsheet can erase the fact that massive deficit spending financed with newly created money destroys the poor and the middle class. They may say that government spending goes to social programs that benefit the poor, but that does not happen. Social programs in a constantly devalued currency becomes irrelevant, inefficient, and worthless, while at the same time the wrongly named welfare state condemns a substantial portion of the population to being hostage clients of government plans. I'll just go ahead and read a little more of this, ladies and gentlemen, then I'll go ahead and leave the link to this article. Obviously, it's a great essay written by this gentleman here. Government does not give excess reserves as social programs. Absolutely not. He's saying that here, governments do not have like a surplus and then they give that surplus away in social programs. Governments take from existing and future wealth of the economy via currency printing, taxation, spending, and debt. The tax the rich crowd are doing an enormous disservice to the citizens they pretend to support. Interventionists may use the excuse of stealing from the rich to give to the poor, but the reality is that government spending is so enormous that they cannot finance every entitlement and social program with the money 1% of the population. Or with the money of 1% of the population. And 1% of the population is the 1% that everyone is always talking about. And for those of you that are in the 1%, the 1% of the population, tax the 1%. Ladies and gentlemen, what is this world trying to go into? What are people in the world trying to make this world? A one world what? A one world GOVT, right? Do you know that if you live in the United States or a Western nation, that you are among the 1% earners in the world? So if we have a one world GOVT, you, ladies and gentlemen, you, the ones that are listening from a Western nation, you are the 1%. You are the 1% that they are going to take from to redistribute to the rest of the world. Why? Because of equality. Right? Because of equality. You know when that gentleman, what's his name? I hate calling him a gentleman, but I'm trying to be nice. The guy from the World Economic Forum, when he says, by 2030, you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy. That is equality and equity. Right? That is equality and equity. And that is their goal. That everyone in the world, except for them, for the very, very few that want to run the world, they want everyone to have equality and equity. What does that mean? That you will own absolutely nothing and that everyone will be equal as such. He goes on to say here, deficit spending and artificial money creation are just two sides of the same coin, dissolving the existing wealth of a nation by issuing more promissory notes. Wealth is the same, just more units of currency in circulation. That's right, wealth is the same. Something stays the same. For example, let's talk about that bag of rice that I like that went up to 41 bucks, I think it was. Yeah, $41 from $27. Well, that rice, before it went up to $41 and it was selling for $27, it had roughly 80,000 calories for that 50-pound bag of rice. Well, guess what? That rice right now, after it went up to $41, it still has about 80,000 calories. It's still the same bag of rice. But since the purchasing power of that currency is being destroyed through inflation, now you have to pay more of that currency to get that exact same bag of rice. And that's what he means right here. That the price of good, that deficit spending and artificial money creation are just two sides of the same coin, dissolving the existing wealth of a nation by issuing more promissory notes. Wealth is the same, just more units of currency in circulation. Hence, prices do not rise. The purchasing power of money diminishes. The price of one good or service can go up due to supply crisis, but if the quantity of currency issued is the same, it would be impossible to see all prices rising with it. And then he goes on to say, we got our health crisis checked, and now we are paying for it multiple times over. Man, you know what? It's the exact same thing I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. And I hate to say it. I remember screaming a couple of years ago saying those stimulus checks, we're going to end up paying 10 times over. And you know what? It's true. We are. But guess what? I hope that those of you that did get a stimulus check, I hope that you put it to good use. I hope that you prepped with it. You know, most people got those checks via, direct deposit. And I got those stimulus checks too. And you know what? I spent them. I spent them as soon as I got them. I got some of this right here. And I got preps. You know why? Because it doesn't matter what we do anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, the government can start printing all they want and send everyone $1 million. Send everyone in the U.S. $1 million. Because you know what I'm going to do with that $1 million? I'm going to prep with it. You know why? Because I know that their actions in inflating the money supply, in bailing out people that shouldn't bail out or businesses they shouldn't bail out, and sending our money overseas to other countries, I know that those actions will eventually result in the biggest crash that you've ever seen in your lifetime. And not only that, but in the history of mankind. So you better be preparing. All right? You better be preparing, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are. Having said that, have a great day. I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm not trying to bring you down with these videos, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to show you that the government is not there for you. The government doesn't care about you. You have to act for yourself. You have to think for yourself. And only because the government is not telling you to prepare doesn't mean that you shouldn't. God bless every one of you.